everyone, welcome back to my channel, and this week I'm doing things a little bit differently. So instead of waiting till the end of the month to do a really big wrap-up video, I'm going to split it up. So we're going to do a mid-month check-in, and so far this month I have read 4 books. So I'm just going to go through them in the order I read them, talk a little bit about them, and then towards the end of the video I'll do a very brief October TBR, because a lot of the books that are going to be on my October TBR I've actually already talked about in other videos, so I don't want to spend too much time going in depth into them. I'll just post videos at the end of this video that you can just click on and go back and see what I've said about them already, because I've gone more into depth about them there. All right, so the first book that I read in September was Blood Sisters by Vanessa Lillie, and this book was awesome. Like, I highly recommend this book. This was a book like outside my comfort zone. I never would have picked up this book if I hadn't gone to that event at the Barnes & Noble where she was speaking and picked this up. Just because I tend to stick to very specific genres. So I pretty much only read cozy mysteries and horror books, and then like I'll go to my library and I'll just kind of peruse shelves and see what's on there new, and that's how I find books. So I had never heard of this one before, and I'm glad that I went and found out about it because it's really great. So this is not a police procedural because the main character is not a police officer, but she does work as an archaeologist, and I believe she works for the Bureau of Indian Affairs. And if I'm not correct on that, it's another organization regarding Indigenous peoples. But the Bureau of Indian Affairs is talked about heavily in this book. And basically, this book is, I don't know, it's a very good mystery. And it almost has like thriller like elements to it, but not like, there was a big twist in here that I didn't guess at all. That I thought was really great, but it's more like, well, I guess I'll just get into it and kind of talk about it. So in this book, we're following our main character, and she is married, and her partner has, well, do I want to give that away? Yeah, because it's in the beginning of the book, so I don't really think it's a spoiler. So you find out that her partner has recently, has finally gotten pregnant through IVF, and her partner's very happy about that, but our main character is like not really sure because she had like a very traumatic childhood, and she just kind of has like some issues that she's going through where she questions if she would be a good parent. She's also an archaeologist, like I said, and she uncovers the bones of a missing woman at the beginning in Rhode Island, but then she's called back to her home state of Oklahoma because there was a skull found there, and her sister has also gone missing at the same time, so they don't know if there's like a connection there, but a part of her own property was found with this skull, so they definitely feel like there's a connection between her and this victim, so they want her to come back and help out with that investigation. So when she goes back to Oklahoma, like, this story just takes off. It is incredibly fast-paced. There's a lot of, like, it's very action-packed. I was kind of amazed. And so this is, like, the opposite of a cozy. So if you're someone that doesn't like foul language or, like, sexual innuendo jokes or, just, I mean, there's everything in this book, and she goes there with everything. So there's like strip clubs, there's like talks about meth labs, there's just like high-speed car chase situations, drug cartels. Like, there's so much that happens in this book, and it's all woven together like really well. Like, I really couldn't put this book down, and I think this author does a really good job of like, I only know what I know about Indigenous people and Indigenous culture through like history classes, which we know we're not taught very well when we were younger, right? So like history classes were pretty much like names and dates that you had to regurgitate on a test. But now, like, I feel like we're doing a much better job, at least where I live and in the school we teach, of like teaching critical thinking skills when it comes to history and making sure that we are seeing multiple perspectives within history, and really kind of getting things right, so to speak, and looking at things a bit more critically in our history and just learning more about like diverse voices. And she gives this to us so much because Vanessa Lillie herself is an Indigenous woman, and she just like exposes like a lot of things that are going on. So she gives a lot of like in-depth history, but she's also talking about like modern issues that Indigenous people are facing still, that I had like no idea about. Like I knew a little bit about, but she really goes in depth with this. And I feel like the right reader for this book is someone who's like open-minded and like willing to kind of like go there with this author and like see this perspective and learn these things and not feel like if you're white you should not like be feeling like, oh, this author is attacking white people, because I don't feel like that's what she's doing, just because she is bringing up like really hard truths that we kind of need to face in this country. But I don't think it comes from like this very like preachy place either. It's more like it's very tied into a very strong narrative. Like, you know what else I really loved about this book, because it kind of ties into what I'm saying here, is like the female characters in this book were awesome. Like one thing I really loved about this book is that there was some high drama moments, high stakes, like people could die. Like it was, even our main character was in some really dangerous situations. Some she got herself into, which makes her also a very like realistic character. I mean, some might be like, well, she put herself in some of these dangerous situations, but I think that's part of like her character arc and her character growth. So I actually appreciated that she wasn't like a perfect character, but like there was no situation in this book where like men were the saviors. Like men didn't come in and like save the day. It was really about like women like saving themselves and getting themselves out of dangerous situations and kind of saving the day. And I just thought that was so awesome. So I think there's a sequel to this one. And when that comes out, I want to read it. I haven't heard of it coming out yet, but I would definitely read more by Vanessa Lillie. I thought the book was so like entertaining and very interesting, while also like not being afraid to like shine like a really harsh light on our history and what's going on today and making people aware. And I just think that's really great, because I think there's definitely a place right now for us to like learn about these important things through a really like interesting and creative piece of fiction that's very engaging. So yeah, I would highly recommend this book. And I feel like every time I'm looking to the camera, it's getting like kind of glitchy. And I apologize, because once again, like I'm a busy teacher and I'm just kind of squeezing in these videos when I can. So I hope this doesn't make you click off, because it can be kind of glitchy here and there. I mean, I'll look back at the footage, but I'm posting it regardless. So I would appreciate like, a subscribe, any kind of engagement, watching the video to the end, and just, you know, hopefully enjoying it, even if I have a screen freeze here and there. Thanks so much. Okay, so the next book I read, and this is like, I'll even tell the story about this too, but I read The Mystery at Lilac Inn by Carolyn Keene. This is part of the Nancy Drew series, and I read it for the upcoming Sisters in Crime book club, which is coming up like at the end of next week. And it's so funny that they picked this one, because I have my mom's entire Nancy Drew collection. She gave it to me because when my son was younger, he was very into mystery books and he started reading the series. So it's basically like she gave it to him. And this one here, unfortunately, the one that they picked is the most like beat up copy she has. The other ones are like super pristine. But she used to just collect them with her own money as a kid. So she would just pick them up at like random, you know, garage sales or wherever she could like find them. So she kind of got them all over the place. So this one here is like It does have like falling out pages and things like that. So don't mind that because it's just a well-loved book. And I'm thinking, and it's funny because I wonder if my mom's disappointed because this was her favorite series ever. She loved collecting them as a kid and she read all of them. And I'm a voracious reader. And I wonder if she's disappointed that I like never read them as a kid or had like any interest in them whatsoever. But I'm thinking now that I've read this one, I might actually want to continue like reading some of the series. So I'll just talk quickly about what this one was about and what I like about the Nancy Drew books and what I don't like so much about it. So in this book here, it's got so many things going on in this book. Like I was actually really surprised. So you have, this female detective, Nancy Drew, and she goes to visit a friend who is about to get married, and she and her soon-to-be husband are going to, basically they've been renovating this inn and they're going to, reopen it up, and they're hoping it will go well. But like everything is going wrong and so many strange things are happening that the people working there and helping to renovate, or people who have just been working there, are starting to quit because they feel like it's haunted. And obviously, like, Nancy has to figure out, like, what is behind all this, because obviously there's got to be a rational reason for this. But this book goes, like, completely wild, in my opinion, because there's, like, technology in this book that I didn't realize, like, would be in it for the time period, and in ways that, like, I didn't think would be possible. And this came out in 1961. And I don't want to give that part away because I feel like that's part of the, I don't even know if it's a twist, but I don't want it to be a spoiler either. So there's like some technology things that come into this that I'm like, wow, that's interesting. And Nancy's also dealing with someone who's impersonating her and like stealing things from her and pretending to be her and like using her, like whatever they had as credit cards back then, like a charging plate. So she's got to like uncover the mystery of who is impersonating her. So there's like all kinds of drama in this book. There's just like so many different things going on. So you got the haunted inn, something else goes missing that's really important. Nancy has an impersonator, and it's like other things like just happen that I was like, wow, this is really like wild. Like this isn't what I expected, especially since one of the criticisms that I have for this book is that the dialogue is kind of like, well, it's kind of like golly, it's very like people just don't talk that way anymore. And I actually do wonder, did people really talk like this in the 60s? But because that's a very like plot driven book, so I don't feel like the characters have a lot of depth to them. I mean, there was one really annoying character in here, and like she kind of shined because she was just like not like everybody else because she was like super annoying. But I felt like most people kind of all seem the same, a little bit like prim and proper. So you don't really feel like you're getting to know any of the characters, even Nancy, on like a personal, like deeper level in terms of like, even like her motivations. It's more just like, hey, I'm here and I need to solve this mystery. So that's like one thing that I have a criticism about. But like in terms of the plot, I mean, it definitely moved forward. It was more gripping than I thought it would be. It wasn't boring at all. There were just things that happened in this book and I'm like, wow, really? So I wonder if they're kind of all like that. Yeah, it was interesting. I can't wait to see what people have to say about it at the book club. So if you have read any Nancy Drew books, I don't get a sense that I need to read these in order. So let me know if there is like an overall like character arc that I'm going to mess things up if I don't read them in order. And if I don't need to read them in order and you have read any, are there any that you would particularly recommend? Because I pretty much probably have like the majority of the collection. So I just kind of want to start anywhere that seems good. I might even just look at the covers and pick ones that are seasonal and maybe read like one each season based on the covers, because I thought I saw one that looked like it had to do with skiing. So we'll see. But that was a good one. I mean, I enjoyed it. I just, characters were a little bit flat here and there. Okay, so the next book I read in preparation for seeing Rachel Harrison this week at her event, and I'm so excited, and I'm going to do my first ever vlog. I'm going to vlog my reading experience of this book and of her one that's coming out. I think it's called So Thirsty, and it's a vampire book. So I read Black Sheep so I could be caught up in her entire collection up to this point, and I loved it. I loved it so much. So in this book, we're following Vesper, and I don't know what I can even say. Like, I feel seen when I read a Rachel Harrison book because I know I don't like the trope of when there's like very unlikable characters. But I don't see that in Rachel Harrison's book. Like, there are unlikable aspects of people's characters, but honestly, like, even the things that they do that I feel like are kind of messed up, like, they have these other, like, redeeming or interesting qualities that make them lovable. So sometimes even our main character, Vesper, will do something and I'm like, wow, you were kind of an a-hole there. But I read it and I feel like, you know what? I'm kind of an a-hole too, but, like, I'm still, like, okay and lovable. And that's how I feel when I read these books. I don't know. And so Vesper, she's working at a restaurant as like a waitress, and she's estranged from her family, all of them. She's left the town that she knew and everything behind. She had a lot of like family trauma, I guess, and just a complex relationship with them based on like religious beliefs and things like that. So she just like went off on her own. But then she receives this invitation in the mail to her best friend's wedding, and her best friend is marrying like her ex-boyfriend that she had once been really in love with. So she decides to like go back to this family event, to go back to this wedding, and like mega drama ensues, obviously. And it's really kind of dealing with themes of like nature versus nurture is a big question in here, or like how much of who we are is because of where we came from is a big question in the book. And I loved it. Oh my God. I'll read everything and if by this author, and if I was stranded on a desert island and could only bring books by one author, it would be Rachel Harrison books. So maybe eventually I will do a video like ranking them and all of that good stuff. But what else I loved about this book is there's a lot of humor in here. Like, there were so many funny parts and I would just laugh out loud. And I don't really laugh out loud at books too much, but there were definitely scenes where I laughed out loud. I just love the way she just weaves in this dark humor through the thoughts of the characters or just some of their interactions. And I just feel like the writing style and the dialogue and just everything about it is so great. I actually feel like this would make a good book club book because I found her relationship with her mother very complex, but in a really good way. Because there were things that happened in this book where I was like, okay, is this woman like, should we be taking her at face value that like she really just doesn't seem like she ever wanted a child? But then there's other times that happen that I'm like, maybe the reason why she acts this way and does the things she does is because actually she deeply loves this person, and there's reasons behind that. I don't want to go more into that because then we're getting into spoilers, but I'd really love people to be able to talk to about the mother in this book and what that relationship like really represented, because I just thought it was so interesting. But yeah, let me just think if there's anything else I want to say about this before I move on. No, I just thought it was great, and you should read it too. All right. The next book that I read was The Examiner. Oh, no, I'm going to put a picture of it like right here. The Examiner by Janice Hallet. Wait, am I saying that right? Yeah, Hallet. Because I definitely watched interviews and I had been saying Hallet because that's what it looked like to me, but it's actually Hallet. And I have read all of her books up to this point, and The Examiner is the brand new one that just came out this month, Wild Ride, and I always recommend books. This one was very reminiscent of The Appeal. which was her first book. Just very like high. It was very fast paced, and there were a lot of crazy things that happened in the book. But what I think she did better in this one than the Appeal was that she had less characters. I felt like the Appeal just had like way too many characters in it to keep track of, whereas this book had a lot of wild things happen, but you're really just keeping track of a smaller amount of characters. So the thing about Janice Hallet books is that they are basically puzzles and you have to figure out what's going on, and you're reading through, in this case, WhatsApp messages, emails, and then there's a message board that the college use. The college is using for students to like write their answers or to chat about assignments and things like that. And then we're also reading their assignments, so their written essays, we're reading those as well in order to like uncover what has happened. Because you don't even like know what the crime is until you've read further on. And then you have to figure out like, okay, who's behind this whole crime? It's very weird. It's very like very interesting. So yeah, you have a group of people who are basically taking a college course in art, and it's supposed to be a master's program where they are learning business skills along with art skills. So their projects are based on like collaboration, but also marketing. They have to actually, one of their final project is kind of they have a client who has a vision for this product, and they have to create something that will represent that, and do a promotional event for them and all this stuff. So all the people who are in this master's program have to work together to design that, and they're all given different roles on this project. And a big part of the book is also following this woman who is running that program. So she's like the main professor, and the art department has really shrunk for a variety of reasons, obviously, that are realistic. So she is trying to like really keep this program afloat, and she needs it to be a success. And she has sought out these different people to actually join the program, and they're all very different, and they're all there for different reasons, some good reasons, some not so good reasons. And you just read about their interactions and how they've gone through the programs from September to May. And it's very interesting, to say the least. She also, you can tell that she really loves what she's writing about, because there are other aspects of this book that she's bringing in about different types of technology, especially things related to sound, and binaural sound and different kind of radios, and all of these things that are very like niche topics that become very important to the book. And I love that she kind of does that. It seems like she does that in quite a few of her books, where there'll just be this like one aspect of it that she really just likes to go down this like deep rabbit hole in. And I would say with her books, I mean, I highly recommend them, but I really feel like they're maybe not for everyone. Like if you just want to read because you want something that's kind of either lighthearted, or you just want like a thriller that's like really easy to follow with a couple of like maybe some jump scares here and some like crazy plot twists. She has like a lot of good plot twists in her books, but I find her books to be like very, very smart and very complicated. Like you have to kind of do some mental work here. You're keeping track of a lot of different details, to try to solve this. It's not necessarily easy to work out. And when some things were revealed, I was like, this is crazy. And some of the reveals were like, I don't even know, because she clearly like did the research on these things. I don't know enough about them to know, like, are these things that she's writing about actually realistic or not? Like, I'm not sure. But I thought they were very creative. They were definitely things that I hadn't read about before. So, I mean, there's that. Did I love it as much as I love the case of the mysterious case of the Alberton Angels? No, but I love that one because it's dealing with a cult, and that topic is just very interesting to me. And the way that one kind of roped around and what the reveals were, like, really kind of stayed with me and made me want to reread it from the beginning to kind of map certain things out. This one here, though, I thought was really well done because I was kind of worried at one point that she was going to um, follow a certain pattern that I'd been noticing in her book, and she didn't do that. So I was like, oh, cool. So she's not, following a formula that she set for herself. So that was good. All right. Yeah, so I've been having a great reading month, and I still think I'm going to get at least 3 more books read. So I'll at least be talking about 3 books in my wrap up. So I think because it'll only be 3 books and hopefully I won't talk as much, maybe I'll save my October TBR for then, because this video, according to the recording right now, is telling me it's already up to 26 minutes. So I don't think I will be able to talk much longer and have all those things in there before the 30-minute cutoff. But yeah, I could talk about these books probably for even way longer than I did. So I hope you enjoyed these. Let me know if you plan on reading any of them, or if you have read them, what you thought of them. Let me know what you've been reading this month. And if you've made it to the end, leave me a little like leaf emoji, because I noticed today at my son's football game that leaves are starting to fall and it's really starting to feel like autumn around here now. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I'm sorry that it's been like kind of glitchy off and on. I can see like the frame freezing here and there, which is annoying. So thank you for putting up with that, and I hope to see you again next time. Okay, bye.